Hello everybody, thanks for tuning into this Q&A video where Sven and me, Niels, will answer all of the questions you've asked us over social media. Thanks for sending all those questions in. And there's no time to waste, so let's get straight into it.
Alright, first question, asked by Bill Anderson and Jason Cooper, and some more people as well. Sven and Niels, I recently received my Heusinkveld Ultimate pedal set and base plate. I could not believe how crude the software support is for a product at this price point. And then a question from Jason, when are we going to get smart control for those that are faithful and have bought your Pro and Ultimate pedals? There's two parts to the question really. We have the Pro pedals and the Ultimate pedals. Let me start off with the Pro pedals. This is a product which we sold until 1.5 years ago, and it's unlikely, or actually we're not going to do any more development on those Pro pedals. We will be supporting them for a very long time to come, even though the warranty period for most purchase sets has already expired. But we will be offering parts and replacement items if needed, but we're not going to do any electronics and software development for the Pro pedals. The Ultimate pedals will still be carrying these for some time to come. And it's a request which we've heard very often when smart control is going to be available for the Ultimate pedals. We have something in the works on that front. It's not going to be available really soon, and if we're going to do it and if we manage to finish it, it will be something which will be made available to existing owners as well as an upgrade package. So we've heard you. There's something in the works, but we need some time on this. Well, then on to the second question. Who is the quickest racer in the company? I think, Niels, that will be our support guy and R&D tester, Enzo.
I haven't told you yet, Sven. It used to be Remco, who works here, is quite quick, and I'm not that slow either. And then we hired Enzo, our support guy, and then we went karting on a company trip last year. And it turned out he's a lot quicker than all of us. So I'm just looking into his contract if there's a way we can sort of get rid of him, and then I'll be the quickest again. No, but all kidding aside, Enzo, our support guy, is insanely quick in karting and in sim racing, and I think we have to just, accept defeat, and it's Enzo definitely followed a long way back by all of us.
Alright, on to the next question. It's a question by Matthew Fennell. Can you tell what the brake pressures are in kilograms for real racing cars? Or what brake pressures the teams are using in simulators? I want to simulate it sort of with my Ultimates. Niels, can you shed some light on this?
How long do we have? No, this is a pretty complicated question and answer because it depends a lot on the parts that you choose in your racing car. You can have different master cylinders in your pedal. Typically there's an option, different brake pad materials. The pedal itself can have different sort of geometry, so it varies a lot. And then you have cars with a lot of downforce, you have light cars, heavy cars, so it depends on too many things to give a straight answer. However, most racing cars have unassisted brakes, so all the force that you have to put on those brake calipers comes from your foot. And typically when racing cars go quick, have downforce and have some weight, the force required can really go upwards of 100 kilos. There are plenty of examples when you read books like Going Faster, of guys getting so tired of pushing the brake pedal in an endurance race that they are just almost unable to keep that force applied. So it definitely can be very, very heavy, but it depends on a multitude of things. And with the Ultimate pedals, you can at least go soft or go hard. You have the whole spectrum available to you. And then for racing teams and sim racers, it depends. Some go with the realistic forces, like high forces perhaps. Some go with what is most comfortable to them, perhaps, to drive in a sim for a long time. So I wish I could give you a one straight answer, but there is just a big variety of what could exist in real life and what people use. But typically forces are a lot higher than you would probably expect them to be.
Niels, is there maybe something more we can tell about esporters who transition to real racing cars, and maybe also real race car drivers who transition to esports?
Yeah, the same sort of variety occurs there. Recently, I think the world fastest gamer, sorry that his name eludes me at the moment, did some GT3 driving for real at Paul Ricard, I think.
It was my first day in the car, in a GT3 in general, so there was a lot of learning that day. We completely missed the corner there. We're trying to brake later, we're trying a few different things, which is what testing's all about. but the braking took a lot of getting used to. I don't think I could put enough pressure in the pedal, to be honest. So I'll work on that with my trainer Simon to get more strength in my left leg.
So that's somebody who used a lowish force in the sim and then was surprised by the ferocity of the brake pedal in the real GT car. And we've also seen some real drivers. We have quite a lot of real drivers as customers. If you look at our website, you can see a whole list of very famous people using our products. And to our surprise, some calibrate quite a low force just because they're more comfortable with it or they have more control with it. So it goes all ways, really.
Alright, next question, which has been asked by Adam Bloom. Are rubber bumpers the best cost-effective brake solution, or do you see a better cost-effective solution or technology down the road?
Well, there are a couple of things about the rubbers that are good for the application in brake pedals. They tend to be a little bit like progressive. They get a little firmer the further you press them. And you can also compress them quite far, which is very handy because you're always dealing with packaging a product like a brake pedal. You want it all compact and nicely angled. And a rubber can be deflected quite a lot, so that's efficient from that point of view. And since you can do various hardness of the rubber compounds, it's not so much cost effective as just very practical. You can get different stiffnesses and that progressive feel. They also have a little bit of built-in damping, which sort of just makes it a bit less springy, and that results in a very good brake feel. So it's not really cost effective why we chose rubbers, it's just effective. And as far as other things, well, I don't really see anything on the horizon that would result in a better feel. There's definitely room to look at different rubber compounds, different materials, and that's something we are constantly looking into. But the basic idea of using a rubber in a brake for a progressive feel, I think will be here to stay, but it's not cost effective, it's just effective.
A question which was also asked by quite a lot of people. Jose Velasquez, will you ever consider using a fully hydraulic brake? Why or why not? Or a question from Ernie, where do you see the pros and cons of load cell pedals compared to hydraulic pedals? And a question from Leon Sutfeld, have you considered fully hydraulic pedals, not just hydraulic dampers, for future pedal sets? Niels, could you elaborate a bit?
A bit, that's going to be hard. I can elaborate a lot. Well, firstly, the most important part of braking is that it should be force sensitive. So if you press twice as hard, you want the game to register twice as hard being pressed on the pedal. So it should be force sensitive. Now, you can achieve that with a load cell, you can achieve that with a hydraulic system, and both are good in the way that they work as you would expect. The feel of a pedal is a more complicated question. And when you see pedals, sim racing pedals, hydraulic or load cell, a lot of the time you see rubbers or springs being compressed when you press the pedal. And that's where most of the feel actually comes from. So if you would put the same rubbers and springs on a hydraulic pedal and on a load cell pedal with the same sort of geometry, they would feel quite similar. And there are some subtle effects in a hydraulic system. There's a bit of damping effect with the fluid being pushed and moved, and of course you have the seals in the system keeping the fluid from leaking out. That might add a little subtle feel, but we feel the majority of the feel comes from compressing those rubbers that we mentioned in earlier questions. So from a feel point of view, you can do more with the rubbers and the springs, we feel, than that hydraulic is some sort of majorly different feel from load cell. They are very hard to compare because there is no pedal on the market that has the same look and feel and geometry that is both hydraulic and load cell. So you're never comparing purely load cell versus hydraulic, you're always comparing different pedals. So that makes it difficult, but we chose to add a damper in our ultimate pedals that gives you a little bit of that damped feel that might exist in the hydraulic pedals, and we feel both ways are perfectly adequate to make a really good sim pedal. And we chose the load cell route because there is no maintenance required, and a good hydraulic system should work fine for years, but you might occasionally have to bleed it, and there is a slight chance of leaks. And it's not saying it will happen, but it's just that when you have lots of pedals out in the field, you want it to be robust and sort of maintenance free, and that's where a load cell pedal for us was the ideal choice.
All right, up to the next question, or on to the next question. Marcus Mendes, will you consider developing some kind of force feedback system in the brake pedal that can tell users when they hit 100% braking in the sim and also when the tires are locked under braking?
That's an interesting question, actually. I'm not sure if I'm getting gray hairs thinking about it. It's going to be quite complicated. There are two issues I see that a lot of the time real pedals do not work like that. You might feel ABS at some point, but a lot of the time there is not really feedback in a brake pedal. The feedback is more perhaps what you feel and what you hear and what you smell in a racing car, and not so much through the pedal. So from a realism point of view, I don't think we want to go there, and perhaps ABS would be something, but that feeling of having the tires locked up would sort of be more of a cheat than a feature we want in our pedals. And also, if you want to do that, it's very complicated. You have to go to iRacing, RF2, Assetto Corsa. You have to get all these guys on board in creating some sort of way that the sim tells your pedal what's happening. So it would be a really complicated way of doing it. Plus just the mechanics of having a load cell pedal that's really up to a high force and then have something, the more I think about it, the more scared I become. And it's not something that I think is realistic or achievable in the short term. However, I don't want to sort of put it away forever. The ABS feeling is something that exists, and we may consider that in the longer term future.
Yeah, Niels, maybe I can also imagine, for example, if brake fluids heat up, that the pedal becomes longer or shorter, depending on temperatures and maybe disc wear.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and that would actually be amazing to have. But like I said, you have the problems not only for developing a pedal like that, but also getting that information from the sims. And I can assure you that not many sims actually model fluid temperature on the brake system, for example. So the physics engines aren't complete enough to go there. But like really long-term future, that's some exciting stuff that who knows in 10 years where we are.
All right, thanks for watching so far. That was the first part of the questions. We'll share the second part of this Q&A session with you next week.